Hey guys, it's Mr. Burns again. We got our next set of vocabulary, Unit 2, set number 2, 14 words. This is going to be based on the quiz that will come up. Will be based a lot on these words and the section that go along with this. And the order I put them in is kind of the order we're going to teach them with Electoral College, then the media and public policy, then campaign spending and campaign costs. So that's the order that I put them in. All right, so you write the definitions now. You do the rest of the packet for homework due by the day of the quiz, which is posted in class. All right, so electors is the first word. So the Electoral College is who ultimately elects the President of the United States. And these are people that are elected by their parties to vote in the presidential election. So after, the presidential election, if your state has more Democratic votes than Republican votes, then the Democratic electors will go to the state capitol and cast their official vote. In Virginia, we have 13 electoral votes. So each political party has 13 electors for the presidential election. If you win, if your party wins, you go vote. If your party loses, you don't. Okay, I'll explain that more when we get into Electoral College. Incumbent, right? Donald Trump is the presidential incumbent right now. He's the president that's holding office, person that's currently holding office or a position. Right, I'm your incumbent civics teacher, I guess you could say. All right, the popular vote. Most elections are decided by the popular vote. Not all elections, right? Not the presidential election. But popular vote is of all the votes that happen, the total number of votes, right? That an elected position gets from all who voted. So if you get, 1 million votes out of 1.5 million, you win because you got more than half, right? You got 1 million out of 1.5 million of the popular votes. Popular vote in the presidential election decides which candidate wins each state. Okay, not which candidate wins the country. All right, two-party system is what we have in the United States, right? Two major political parties. We have the Democrats, which are represented by the donkey, and we have Republicans, which are represented by the elephant. That was from a political cartoon way back in the 1800s. All right, and then winner-takes-all system or winner-take-all system. It's this idea in the Electoral College where if you win the popular vote in a state, you get all the electoral votes. Okay? And we'll explain that more in Electoral College. But basically, all you got to do is win a certain amount of states to get 270 electoral votes. It's a little bit of a complicated system, but it was put in place back when our country was first formed and it has not gone away. All right. When we get into the media, we're going to talk about bias, and I'm sure you're familiar with this word, but bias it's prejudice. It's where you are favoring one side over another. I always use the example that my dog is better than your dog because I think it's true. It's probably not true in your opinion, but my dog is my dog. I love her. My son is my son. I love him. So I think my kid is better than everyone else's kid. I think my dog is better than everyone else's dog because I have bias towards them. Okay? All right. Editorial. The key word there is opinion. An editorial is going to be an opinion. It's usually written on behalf of the editor or on behalf of the newspaper. It states an opinion, and it's usually biased. It's usually one side or the other of an issue. That's editorial. Remember, pause the video at any time if you need to catch up or you need to go back and rewind. All right, here we go. We got endorse. This is a tricky one. This is one that a lot of students struggle with. So this is where a famous person who may be or may not be in politics is going to give the support of a certain candidate or a certain party. And here on this picture, you can see Oprah Winfrey, who is not really involved in politics. She's obviously a famous talk show host, and she has her own brand, right, the Oprah brand. She's endorsing President Obama here back in 2008. Okay, so it's giving support to someone. You're endorsing them. So it's stating an opinion, right? It's taking a side. All right, propaganda. You learned about this in World War I, World War II last year, especially. It's basically, used as an advertisement to promote a particular issue. You're going to see propaganda all over the news, on commercials as we lead up to Election Day. Once we get into closer to the 2020 election, presidential election, you'll see it even more. Okay. All right, keep going here. We got public policy. Public policy is basically how the government reacts to issues that affect the masses or affect, a lot of people. And there's a big problem going on, and the government is going to try to take action. So, pollution as an example. So what are some different ways that we could address this issue? We could pass a law, we could change policy, we could institute regulations. There's a lot of different things we could do there. Hold on, I need a sip of water. I'm a little thirsty here. All right, let's keep going here. Lobbying. You guys do this all the time to your parents. You lobby. You try to influence them, right? And you try to, hey, can I just stay out a little bit later tonight, or can I go over and do this? If I do this, I promise I'll do that. You try to make these deals with your parents. All of you guys do that all the time, right? And this is what lobbying is. Lobbying is where these interest groups and political action committees, we'll talk about those next, but they try to influence the Congress and senators to try to vote in a certain way for or against a bill. If it's going to support their interests, then they're going to want the senator to vote for it. If it goes against their interests, vote against it. Okay, that's lobbying. You guys do that all the time. Influence, that's the key word there. All right, an interest group. It's not really a political party. They're similar, but people come together. It's kind of usually within a political party, a group within a party. And they come together to unite about a certain issue. They have a certain belief on a certain topic. And what are they going to do? They're going to come together and they're going to try to lobby. They're going to try to influence with, whether that's just with writing letters or meeting with Congress people or donating money to campaigns. There's a lot of different things that they can do to influence that. But that's an interest group. And it says it right in the name, an interest. They're a group of people focused on a specific interest or topic. Okay. All right. Political Action Committee, or a PAC. Okay? Their main focus is just to donate money to campaigns, again, to influence. But they're not as focused on issues as they are on political parties and on campaigns. Okay? There's an example. The Great America Committee is an example of one. Usually they're either conservative or liberal, and their main focus is to contribute money. However, PACs have limits on how much they are allowed to contribute to campaigns and to individual candidates. There are limits that have been in place. However, super PACs, there was this Supreme Court case called Citizens United back in this decade, or this century, about 2010, I believe, and basically says that a super PAC is allowed to raise unlimited amount of money on behalf of candidates, but they cannot distribute it or give it directly to candidates or directly to political parties. So you might have a super PAC that creates a commercial that endorses a candidate or a party, but there's no direct connection between the super PAC and the candidate or the party. So they're doing it on their own. Okay? Whereas a political action committee and interest group, they can work more closely with candidates and with campaigns and with parties. There's the difference there. Okay, so that's super PACs. All right. Remember your homework by the quiz date, which is posted. Your definition or example. I gave you some in this. Hopefully you're listening. A unique colored visual or picture. Make sure you don't use mine. You can use something similar, but don't use mine. And remember, you have a quiz on that date that the vocab is due. All right, Mr. Burns signing off. Thank you.